On today's show, Alperen Sengun disrespected, coming in at 36th in our NBA Top 100 Players poll here at Locked On. How many NBA bigs are actually better than Alperen Sengun right now? We're going to break it all down for you right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. On today's show, we're going to be continuing our breakdown of the Locked On NBA Top 100 Players ranking, with Alperen Sengun feeling a bit disrespected, coming in at 36th on this list. How many bigs in the NBA are legitimately better than Alperen Sengun? We're be tackling all of that on today's show. And as always, just want to let you know, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everydayer. And joining us now is your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast, and diehard Houston Rockets fan, Madison Moore, who you can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Here as we continue our little kind of three-part episode reacting to the Locked On NBA Top 100 Players poll, as voted on by the Locked On hosts. As a quick disclaimer at the top, just to make sure that Madison doesn't ruffle any feathers, he did not vote on this list. We included that at the top of last episode. If you missed that episode, we reacted to Kevin Durant being snubbed and not being included in the top 10 players of the NBA this upcoming season. On today's show, we're going to be focused on Alperen Sengun coming in at 36th, which also feels wrong. Like, what is with the disrespect to the Rockets, man? They were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they were a damn good team. It's just, I cannot wrap my head around it. I need to have, you know what? I want to talk to HR. I want to talk to Locked On HR. I want to file a formal work complaint with all my colleagues that clearly have a bias against Alperen Sengun and the Houston Rockets and KD and all the above. Madison, let's tee this thing off just like we did last episode. I asked you how you felt about KD coming in at 11th. How do you feel about Alp at 36th? It feels kind of wrong, right?
I'm going to be controversial here.
Oh my God, don't do it. Not in the, we're playing just in the middle of Eurobasket.
I know.
You're going to piss off a whole country.
But I got to be real. Be real.
All right.
If I'm being honest, I think this is the back end of his range. So
you're saying this is his floor? Like, this is
to me, it's about right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. It's the back end, but I can see it. I can see how he got here, right? Because Alperen Sengun is still a young player. He's still an up and coming player. He still has a lot to improve. But being a top 40 player in the NBA is very, very impressive, right? That's a very impressive mark, and he's going against guys who've been consistently all-star level every year. Now, would he have come 36 on my list? No, he'd be much higher. He'd be in the top 30, right? He'd be in the top 30. But from around, I say, from 27 to 36, give or take, that's the range. And when you look at the players around him, I think he's clearly better than a lot of those players, and we'll get into that in the second seg. But if we're being fair, if guys are being unbiased right now, Alperen Sengun is having a showcase in Eurobasket right now, okay? And this showcase is damn impressive. It's damn impressive.
He's going to make a lot of people look silly for ranking him all the way down at 36th. For what it's worth, I had him right on the precipice. I had him at 26th on my poll. And so I had him a little bit more towards kind of the upper end of his bracket. And I will say, playing devil's advocate for a moment. So he's 36. We'll get into the players that are listed around him. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the graphic. We'll talk about the names around him and some of the names that we think he either is better than or could be better than, as soon as this season. But, I could see how, especially last year, right, there was some controversy around, Sengun making the all-star team over, Damontas Sabonis. Those two guys are constantly, joined at the hip in these discussions, right? It's the Charizard meme, Sengun, Sabonis, Jokic in that order, whatever, and it shouldn't be in that order. And we'll talk more about that here in a second. But for me, he did have a year where he regressed offensively. He struggled finishing around the rim. And I've said it, I don't know how many times on this very show, that if Alp just hadn't regressed shooting around the rim, if he had kept the same percentages he had from year 2 and year 3 of his career, he would have been legitimately like on the precipice of being in some MVP conversations because of how good he was outside of that. Like, I mean, Donovan Mitchell was ranked like 5th or 6th in MVP voting for the Cavs. If you looked at the Rockets and if Sengun was averaging 23 or 24 a game on good efficiency with the rebounding and the facilitating and the defense and the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, like I could have seen the argument. Now, would he have actually like won it? No, but like there would have been some like people like, oh, he's on the MVP ladder, like 5th, 6th, whatever. That would have been the conversation. Instead, it's like, okay, he was really good, but he regressed a little bit offensively. Like, can he get back to that level offensively? And I think we're seeing that right now in Eurobasket. We're seeing an Alperen Sengun who devoted so much of his attention last year to continuing to grow and elevate his defense that his offense did take a little bit of a backseat. And now we're seeing him really like flex a little bit and showcase, hey, I'm still that guy. I can still get it done offensively. He's talked about it in interviews. He's been in the gym all offseason, really refining his offensive game, getting his touch back, and we're seeing it. He's been more efficient. He's been more consistent around the rim in Eurobasket, and the way that he's impacting the game at such an unbelievably high level, going legitimately toe-to-toe with the best player on the planet in Nikola Jokic and outperforming him in a high-stakes game that had so many ramifications for it for Eurobasket and Turkey's, attempt at winning, a medal at the end of things. Like I couldn't be more proud of what we're seeing out of him at this stage. And it really feels like he's kind of setting the table for what to expect out of him this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think Alperen Sengun in Eurobasket, if he played like he played in Eurobasket, he would definitely be at the top of this list. And I think if the guys voting was watching Eurobasket, then they could have used some of that in their projection, which I'm sure you used. But when you just look around Sengun, though, he's everybody around him within 5 picks behind.
Here, I'll run through it really quick for the audio side, just very quickly, because Sengun's at 36th. We got Bam Adebayo at 31, Sabonis at 32, De'Aaron Fox at 33, Jamal Murray at 34, Franz Wagner at 35, Sengun comes in at 36th, Derek White at 37, Tyrese Maxey at 38, Ivica Zubac at 39, and Kyrie Irving at 40th. Now, again, a quick disclaimer. We were supposed to factor in injuries. That was part of how we did this thing. So, like, that's why Kyrie is a lot lower on this list than a lot of other people would probably have him, because he's going to miss a huge chunk of time this next season.
Yeah. And the point I was just going to make, without names, most of these players, almost all of these players are multi-time all-stars, right? So he's in good company. You know what I mean? Like to me, when I heard 36 or when I saw 36, I said, man, that seems far back to me, right? But then when I look around the guys around him, these is multi-time all-stars in the league. These are all-star level players, right? And so it's in that, to me, is fair for where Alperen Sengun's level is right now. He's an all-star. Now, he would have been much further ahead for me because I think he's a lot better than some of these guys. But then there's guys that's behind him that I think would have an argument to be ahead. So like Kyrie and Tyrese, right? That being said, I don't agree where he is, but I'm not mad at it. Because when you look at that.
All right, and that's a respectable take. It's probably a little bit more even keeled than mine, feeling like, well, again, because I had him 10 spots higher, so like I was like, what the hell? Like that was my whole thing. I was like, I thought he put the league on notice last year. All right, so anyways, coming up, what we're gonna do here is we are going to walk through at least the bigs that are ahead of Alperen Sengun in spots 1 through 35, and try and see how many of those bigs we think he is potentially better than on this list. We're going to navigate through that, as well as try to figure out what does Alp need to do to become a legitimate top 25, top 20 kind of talent in the NBA. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Look, I'm personally not a really big golf guy. I'll do putt-putt. I'll go out to the, Top Golf occasionally. I got a friend though. He's super big into golf, and the look on his face when I was able to sink a hole-in-one at the Tiger Woods putt-putt place here in Houston, and he just couldn't get it done. I will remember that forever. And look, golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Again, in case you missed it, we had our reaction to KD slipping all the way down to 11th in these Locked On NBA player rankings. So go check out that episode. We're also going to have an episode coming out talking about Amin Thompson and Fred VanVleet and their rankings on the top 100 player poll. Amin Thompson cracked the top 50, but should he be a little higher potentially? We'll get into that in our next episode, so be on the lookout for that one. All right, Madison, let's navigate this list here, and let me pull this back up for us. We've got, let me come here, pull it back up. Okay, so we've got Sengun at 36th. Let's do what we did with KD here, and let's climb the ladder. And we're not going to do every player because I do think it gets a little bit harder comparing across positions, even though I definitely think Sengun is better than Franz Wagner. I just want to put that out there right now. But let's just go. Let's pay attention to the bigs here, because I think this is the important thing, is trying to figure out more or less where Alperen Sengun ranks ahead of other bigs kind of in the same tier or in maybe a tier ahead of him in the NBA. And I'm going to get up on my soapbox here for a moment, because the first big that is ranked ahead of Alperen Sengun is Damontas Sabonis. And I want to know, Madison, when can we as a people, as one people, as a society, when can we stop this BS narrative that Damontas Sabonis is better than Alperen Sengun? Alperen Sengun clears Sabonis in so many different ways. Damontas Sabonis doesn't even have half the offensive bag that Alperen Sengun has, and Sengun is twice the defender that Sabonis is. There are only 2 things on the basketball court that Sabonis is marginally better than Sengun at, and he is a marginally better rebounder. Sengun's still a legitimate double-digit rebounding presence, and he's grown considerably as a rebounder. Sabonis is one of, if not maybe the best rebounder in the NBA. I'll give him that. But it's not like a gigantic chasm or disparity. So he's a better rebounder. Hat tip. And technically he's a better three-point shooter, but on just zero volume. He shot 40-something% from 3, but if you crank that volume up to 3, 4, 5 attempts per game, that percentage is plummeting. I guarantee it. He was so selective about his shots. So I'll still give it to him, right? And then maybe if you want to say he's a better screener, I think he's a little bit more consistent in that regard of his game, maybe. But that's mostly because Sengun, given his role offensively, he's constantly the roll man. He's constantly operating out of the middle of the floor, creating for his teammates. So he's sometimes setting screens and rushing a little bit to try and get to his spot as the roll man to then attract the defense, attract double teams, all that. Sengun commanded the second most double teams in the NBA last year. Sabonis isn't doing that. And Sabonis' assists, spoiler alert, he's a dribble handoff merchant. He's not got anywhere near the court vision that Alperen Sengun has as a playmaker, as a facilitator, as an engine running an offense. All right, I'm down off my soapbox. I think Sengun absolutely clears Sabonis, and there is no world where Sabonis is better than Alperen Sengun. Not right now. Maybe a year or 2 ago, but not right now.
All I got to say is, ask Draymond Green.
You didn't see Draymond stomping on Alpe's chest, I'll say that.
Ask the different reaction and respect Draymond Green had after playing Damontas Sabonis and playing Alperen Sengun. because he talked about both. And that right there, that's a all-time great defensive player. And when we get into this stuff there's a lot of great regular season performers, right? But one thing we learned about Sengun this year in his first playoff performance, that won't be Alperen Sengun, just a great regular season performer. We got a guy who's going to perform in the biggest moments. Ask Nikola Jokic what happened to him just a week ago. It was a couple of days ago. This guy is ready to step up in some of the biggest situations, right, and produce. And that is Damontas Sabonis's biggest weakness. When the game is on the line, when there's the high-stake games, he underperforms every time. He becomes
not
a
only
liability.
He's a liability. He can be schemed against. That's the thing. The Warriors schemed explicitly against him, and he was the Achilles heel for that Kings team that won, a bunch of games. They were the 3 seed in the West. They looked like they would light the beam, all that stuff, right? And then they made it to the playoffs, and Sabonis was a non-factor against that Warriors team. They were better at times with him off the floor. And that the same cannot be said for Alperen Sengun, who's risen to a level where he still plays in crunch time defensively because he's gotten that much better as a defender on the floor. We just saw him in the last week alone in Eurobasket. He's made not one, but 2 different clutch time defensive game-winning plays. That's the kind of player he is. He does not belong behind Sabonis on this list. I need people to get educated. I need people to get smart about the stupid Charizard meme. It's Sabonis at the bottom,
right, then
Sengun, then Jokic. All right. If you want to do the meme, that's the proper order now. All right. We spent too much.
We gotta go.
All right, we gotta get to the next name. We got a bunch of other names to get to. Next name, Bam Adebayo at 31. How do you feel about Bam ahead of Sengun?
I'm not mad at it. I think they're actually like these crazy. They're crooks because Bam Adebayo is this incredible defensive player with some offensive game. You're right, like with a respectable offensive game. While Alperen Sengun is this incredible offensive player with a respectable defensive game. Right?
I think they're like 2 sides of the same coin, right? You just flip them, right? They're each other. What the antithesis of each other, the opposite or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So depending on your poison and what you're looking for in the team, I can see a guy going either way there. I'm not mad at it, but I think they are the same. They're in the same range. And I think Alperen Sengun has the at this stage in his career, he's still getting better. While I think Bam is pretty much at his prime. Bam is who he is at this point, whereas Alperen Sengun is still kind of ascending, which is crazy to think about because he's just 23 years old. I will say, I think that if you're comparing right there, I don't want to call it weaknesses, but like obviously Bam's offense is less, Sengun's defense, while still getting better and growing, it's less than his offense. I would take Sengun's defense over Bam's offense. Now, to be fair, Bam is an incredibly gifted passer, and that's what makes Miami so deadly at times. But that being said, he leaves a lot to be desired at times when he's being made the focal point of the offense, which is not his MO. Like, you don't want Bam as your number 1 or number 2 scoring option. He's better served as your 3rd or 4th kind of ancillary option, and you play through him a little bit, but getting other guys involved. So I would have Sengun ahead of Bam, but I don't hate like the trade-off between those 2 guys. I thought you brought up good points there. Let's go further up this list a little bit here. Chet Holmgren at 30. No way, Jose.
No, I'm just gonna say hell no. Chet Holmgren over. This is the most recency bias. He just got a chip. Like,
he didn't play well. He didn't.
I'm sorry.
Not. And it's okay. He was young. He's a young guy, man. He's just not there yet. He's not a better player than Alperen Sengun right now. He may be in 3-4 years, but he's not right now. And so, what I will say is when guys play in the conference finals, that is a level of development experience that really vaults you into a different tier of player. And so if you're thinking like that, and you're galaxy braining, projecting him being better next year, I think he will be a better player. I mean, not better than Sengun, but a better player in general, right, than himself last year. But
Chet Holmgren at 30 is crazy.
Yeah, at 30 is crazy.
All right.
I think he should be swapped with Sengun. That's in my mind where they belong.
That would be, and we don't have the time for me to run through like my whole list, but like that's if I were to reshuffle some of these names, like here's the thing is like Trae Young and Darius Garland do not belong at 26 and 27 whatsoever. They are not the 26th and 27th best players in the NBA. I am so sorry. They're not up there. Honestly, Ja at 28 probably doesn't belong up there anymore. Like he hasn't been, in the past, maybe you have him a little bit higher, but no way. Let me go to the next big here on the list though. Jaren Jackson Jr. at 25.
I'm not mad at it. I think Jaren
Triple J is a legitimate DPOY caliber defender.
Yeah,
and he's
that's what I'm
senior
saying.
4-5, can play both positions, versatile, can shoot. That one's a little bit harder, right? And I think it's really big time. It's the shooting that really separates him, right? It's like if Triple J couldn't shoot, he wouldn't be that good. Like, I mean, he'd still be very good, but he would not be top 25 good if he didn't have a really consistent three ball as part of his game.
The only knock I'd say about Jaren right now is I just think he makes knucklehead plays in crucial moments. You know what I mean?
He don't really have an established post game either is the problem. Like watching him try to post somebody, he's not really a post up player is the issue. And so there's shortcomings in his game. Do you prefer like the old school back to the basket offensive style that Sengun provides playing out of the post, or do you prefer like the spacing and again the defensive edge that Triple J provides? It's spacing and defense for Triple J versus offensive playmaking and scoring for Alperen Sengun is kind of the argument between the two, I would say.
Yeah, and Jaren had probably the best season of his career last year.
Yeah,
so that was, I'm not mad at that.
He was playing out of his mind. All right, here's the last big on the list before we get into the top 20, and that'll be our final segment. But Paolo Banchero at 23.
Are we counting him as a big?
I think we have to count big. He plays at the 4, and he plays small ball 5 intermittently, occasionally. I think here's the issue: is whether you count him at the 4 or not.
I mean, I think Pascal would be the last big, but
I mean, but Pascal's a wing though. He's not really a big. Like
you go say Siakam
Paolo
wing
plays
over
like,
Paolo.
Okay, Paolo plays like a wing, but Paolo is a big. He's 6'10", 6'11", big body, plays at the 4. Pascal plays at the 3, and he's slender, and he's not banging with big bodies the way that like the other bigs have to at the NBA. My point that I want to get off though here before just as we navigate away from the semantics between these two guys, and here's the thing: Pascal's a perimeter player as well. Like he plays in the mid post area a little bit, but he's also a perimeter guy. Slashes in. You know what? You got me reconsidering Pascal Siakam, but it feels wrong to call Pascal Siakam a big though. Is the issue? He's not a big.
Yes, he is. He's a mobile big. He just he's mobile, but he plays with his back to the basket in the half court. He's a mobile big. He's more of a big than Paolo. You're not giving Pascal the ball to bring.
All right. You know what? All right, fine. You know what? You know the Anthony Mackie meme, whatever. He's out of line, but he's right. That's how I feel right now. Like that's legitimately how I feel about you calling Pascal Siakam a big. It makes me feel wrong, but like the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, damn, he's right. He's got a point. Anyways, I don't think he's a big for the sake of this conversation, though. It's weird to think about it that way. I think Sengun is better than Paolo Banchero, and I can't wait for the world to realize it. That's all I'm saying. I haven't been a Banchero believer, even when it looked like the Rockets were gonna get Banchero at number 3 before the Magic pulled the old okey doke and took him at number 1. I never really liked his play style. I didn't really think it was going to translate. And right now, I mean, there's like a legit argument between like who's actually the better number 1 option between Banchero and Franz Wagner for the Magic. Like there were stretches with both, and like they look good with both. They don't play well off each other. Like I don't know. I think Banchero at 23 is too high for me. I had him at 31. I'm anti Banchero at this point. Like not like an agenda. It's just, I just don't like his play style. I don't think it's as conducive to winning as other people do.
Yeah, man. This is where me and Jackson differ and differentiate big time. Okay. I think Paolo Banchero is better than Alperen Sengun right now. I think his ability to carry a team by himself, NBA team is real. I think barring injuries, that Orlando Magic team would have been a top 3-4 team in the Eastern Conference, and I think they're gonna show it, especially playing with no space. Paulo Banchero has also the passing pedigree. His offensive bag is he's probably one of the few bigs that we've talked about with arguably a better offensive bag than Alperen Sengun. And that's just because he can shoot the ball and handle the ball in a different way. But to me, I think Paulo's a wing with a big size, which is
he's a jumbo
very
wing.
rare. That's what I'm saying, which is very rare. Right?
You know what? Can we just call Pascal and Paolo both jumbo wings? How's that? Is that better? All right, we'll call them jumbo wings.
Yeah, okay.
Fine. We'll settle somewhere in the middle, man, because we're not about to derail this show for even longer. That was all right. You know what? Here, coming up, we're gonna break into the top 20. We're gonna keep taking a look at some of the other bigs. What does Alperen Sengun need to do? What does he need to become in order to break into the top 20 of the NBA landscape? We're gonna get there in just one moment. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, continuing our conversation about Alperen Sengun. He clocked in at 36th in our Locked On NBA player rankings. We're continuing to climb this ladder, and we're now breaking into the top 20 here. And we're going to continue looking at the bigs that are ranked ahead of Alperen Sengun. And we start with none other than, well, there's one more big ahead of Alp here. And we'll quickly hit on this one. Karl-Anthony Towns at 19. Cat at 19 doesn't feel wrong. It kind of feels like it doesn't. I don't know. Cat's a hard cat to judge.
Yeah, Cat is a tough one, and it's just because Cat can have some really incredible games in the regular season. And he's probably numbers wise a better player in the regular season. But if I needed somebody to lead my team, I'd pick Alperen Sengun over Cat. You know what I mean? If I wanted to pick somebody to go into the playoffs, to go into war with, I pick Alperen Sengun over Cat. But I think
if I needed a rebound, I'm picking Sengun. If I needed defense, I'm picking Sengun. Yeah. If I needed playmaking, I'm picking Sengun. Like Cat is a more pure scorer and a more versatile scorer. You know, he can post, he can face up and drive, he can draw contact, get to the rim, he can shoot. He's arguably the best shooting big, outside of, I don't know who had off the dome. I don't know who had the better shooting percentage from deep between him and Jokic, but it's one of those two. So there's a lot there, but I think Sengun excels in every other facet of the game more than Cat.
The intangibles. Alperen Sengun has better intangibles than Cat, but just as a pure scorer.
You could just say Cat's soft. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Let's go. Okay. And this is going to be the one that gets people all kinds of ruffled, man. Evan Mobley at 16.
Y'all, I don't know what the hell people are doing. Hey, real talk, man. I have no idea with the Locked On people. You know, I really used to respect y'all Locked On people. I was hoping to be one of y'all one day, but after Evan Mobley at 16, we just did an exercise where we just looked at the names around Alperen Sengun. Can we look at the names around Evan Mobley? Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard. Are we serious? You really think that this is the range that Evan Mobley belongs in the top 100?
No.
This is silly. This is a one-way player, a offensive play finisher, okay? And a guy who really hasn't gotten much better since he got in the league. I don't understand. I understand that this guy is a
look. I'll give him credit for developing a more consistent outside shot because he's up to 37% from three this last year. Yeah, so like
how many attempts?
From the attempts, let me see.
That surprised me.
On attempts, Evan Mobley from three attempts per game. Not a ton of volume, but like it's steadily gotten better. He jumped up from 1.2 attempts his third year to 3.2 this past year, kept it 37%. He was a more consistent outside shooting threat this past season. So like, I'll give him credit for that. Like, I'm not going to knock him on that, but he doesn't have, like, he's not a go-to scorer offensively. He's a play finisher, like you said.
Yeah, I think guys are just leaning into the defensive impact as this shining toy, defensive player of the year candidate every year, and he does have that. He is a impactful player defensively, but to me,
He's also somewhat propped up by Jarrett Allen. I'm just gonna say the Twin Towers lineup that the Cavs run. Give me a season or two with Evan Mobley actually anchoring the 5 spot full time, right, and then we can have a conversation about his true impact as a defender. He's a great defender. I'm not going to take that away from him. I don't know. I think people are gassing him up a little too much as it's like, oh my God, DPOY, Evan Mobley. Like, it's him and Jarrett Allen, and Jarrett Allen gets none of the PR for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I honestly think Evan Mobley is our modern day, like the way people used to think of Dwight Howard. Like when Dwight Howard was a young kid, people used to say he was better than Yao Ming, and he just had none of the skill to actually be better than Yao Ming as a player. But he had this defensive acumen that people, valued so much that they put him ahead of guys like.
And he was athletic, and he had big, loud dunks. So there you go.
Exactly. And I think guys are kind of galaxy braining Evan Mobley in the same manner. Alperen Sengun is for sure a better player than Evan Mobley. I said it here. You heard it here first. If you haven't heard it on any of your other local podcasts, until Evan Mobley is able to create his own shot, I don't think he's going to be better than Alperen Sengun, because Alperen Sengun is a legitimate two-way player now.
Yeah,
and so and that's just a fact about it. But a DPOY candidate is a very impressive player. His ability to switch. Yeah,
it is. I had Evan Mobley top 30. Where did I have him? 29th? Yeah, 29th on my list. So I had him top 30, but he was behind LP on my list for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. Next big up here on the list, Anthony Davis at 14. This is where we're starting to get into like legitimate, like star level territory.
Well, I mean, I think LP may have a case with AD's injury history, but as a skilled player, as longevity goes, if Anthony Davis is on the court, he's the better player than Alperen Sengun right now.
And I do think like the one edge that Alpi has, I think Alpi is right now and has been for a minute a better playmaker than AD has ever been. AD's never really been a guy that you want to like. That's why he struggled as the number one option in New Orleans, right? It's just AD is like the perfect complementary player. You make him your number two with like a legitimate engine running the show. You give him a LeBron, you give him a Luka, whoever, to run things, it'll look a lot better. You don't want AD to be the guy your offense is running through 24/7. And that's the distinction between what Sengun provides compared to guys like an AD or an Evan Mobley. You can run your offense throughout Sengun, and it'll look damn good while you're doing it. I think that we have this kind of like the only two other bigs that were on this list were Nikola Jokic at 1 and Wemby at 7. And Victor Wembanyama is not a better player than Alperen Sengun right now.
Not right now.
Not right now. The defensive impact might be enough to like outweigh it. And I got a real problem with a 7'4" dude who doesn't know how to dominate down low. It bothers me. I hate seeing him settle for jumpers. If he keeps the efficiency up though, if he's basically KD with like Rudy Gobert DPOY defense, then yeah, pencil him in to become the GOAT somewhere down the line. Pencil him in for best player in the league year in, year out for like the next 10 plus years, if he can stay healthy, whatever. But at least right now, I'm not taking Wemby over Sengun right now this season. Not. If you're talking about building a dynasty, building a franchise, projecting out 5 to 10 years, and then even then you're still running the injury risk, all that, like we're having a conversation. But this season, if I'm winning games this season, I'm not taking Wemby over Sengun.
So that's arguable between Sengun and Wemby. Just because Wemby has otherworldly defensive potential, and he may reach that as early as next year. That's arguable, but he definitely doesn't belong in the top 10, and he belongs in a range similar to Alperen Sengun, right? But I would take that argument just right now, next year, especially after watching Eurobasket Sengun.
All right. And then, obviously Jokic, he's the best player in the world. That's the last remaining big on the list. I guess you throw Giannis in there, but like, we're not gonna, that's a whole different stratosphere that we're talking about. Although it feels like Alperen Sengun might be approaching that European superstar kind of trajectory. We're going to see what that looks like. It feels like to me, Madison, and as we navigated some of these names on this list, it kind of feels like the differentiating factor. We know that he's grown defensively. We know what he's capable of offensively. It really feels like the thing that's going to be able to vault him into a consistent top 20, top 15 kind of player. If he develops that consistent outside shot, I think that's enough to get him in that conversation. We saw names like Karl-Anthony Towns up there. We saw other bigs who could shoot the ball. And if you start factoring in everything that he's capable of right now, the switchability on defense, how much he's grown on that side of the ball, the attention that he commands on offense, the ability to shape the game the way that he does. If you add a consistent 34, 35, 36% three ball on top of that, which will really put defenses in a bind, because then what do? How do you guard him at that point? You won't be able to.
And I think the biggest thing about adding the three ball is not just the simple threat of Alperen Sengun or the actual making of those shots. It's players having to respect that jump shot and that them closing out on him, opening up his triple threat drive game, his handle game, right?
It also opens up passing lanes.
Exactly.
Like Bam Adebayo is a very gifted passer, but when he's at the top of the key, defenses know he's not shooting threes, so they sag back at the free throw line, and that clogs those backdoor cutting angles and stuff. But if you have to hug up, that's why watch Jokic. When Jokic plays and he's at the top of the key, that defender has to be like in his jersey or he's going to pull from three, and that gives him all these opportunities for these back screens and back cuts and all sorts of actions, and he's got the court vision and the height and the passing ability to nail those passes.
Exactly. The threat of the jump shot of Alperen Sengun is going to open up the rest of his game. It's going to make him that much deadlier as a offensive threat and as a hub, like you said, in the passing game. And really is going to be able to show off some of the most underrated part of Alperen Sengun's game. And I've been saying this a lot, is his handle. His ability to get downhill, to utilize the Euro step, and then make plays once he's getting into the teeth of the defense, with not just with his back to the basket, but with the ball in his hands. You know what I mean? As a driver, and that's a really underrated part of Alperen Sengun's game. And once he starts to do that, that's when I think it's going to vault him into the 25, 26 a game. That's going to get him up to the 6, 7, 8 assists a game. And then he has to continuously continue his improvement on defense, continue to be a legitimate two-way player. And I think another just easy pickings, if he could become a Damontas Sabonis level rebounder. You know what I mean?
He's not far off. He's close.
He's a good rebounder, but if that can be a true superstar, not many guys in the league better than him type rebounder, and he has the size and build for it to really take up space and really seal guys in the way that Kevin Love. You remember those Kevin Love games where he had like 20 rebounds, right? I think he could get those what it calls Z-bounds. You were when Z-Bo used to just not even jump, just seal you. He has that type of size and strength. And so as he gets stronger, he's still mobile. And if he combines all those elements of his game, it really will open up the rest of his game, and he'll have no weaknesses. And I think that's when he'll get into the superstar status and possibly enter the top 10.
Ooh, that's a good spot to leave it off in it, if any. We want your thoughts on Alperen Sengun being ranked 36th. How many of the bigs that we talked about are better than Alp? How many of those bigs is Alp already better than? Give us your rank. Where is Alp in your mind? He is the best blank big, the whatever in the NBA. Give us your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Madison, you know the drill. Let me know where to track you down at.
You can find me at Madman Leaks. Come talk Rackets basketball and NBA draft.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thanks so much for checking out the show. Remember, the best way to help us grow the show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.